All right, Pythagorean theorem, day one. So the Pythagorean theorem is if A and B are measures of the legs are the sides that meet at a right angle of a right triangle, and C is the measure of the hypotenuse. C is the hypotenuse, it's always the longest side. Then C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Or sometimes it's written A squared plus B squared equals C squared, same thing. The hypotenuse is the longest side, right here. This is the hypotenuse. The legs are the shorter sides. They're also the two sides that meet at the right angle. And A and B are interchangeable. Okay? So when we have to solve for one of these, you could use one of these formulas, which are really same thing as from this. Because if I wanted to find C, I would do the square root, and I'd get C, and then A squared plus B squared inside of the square root. Okay? But if I wanted to find A, I have to subtract the B first. So I get this one. If I wanted to find B, I'd have to subtract the A, and then I'd get this one. So they're all coming from this, depending on which one we look at. You don't have to memorize all three, you just have to know how to use this or memorize all three. All right, so number one, it says find the length of the missing side, round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. So A is 30, B is 40, I want to find C. If I want to find C, I'm just going to do the square roots right here. So 30 squared, 40 squared, and when we do the square root, we get 50. Now, you do not have to worry about plus or minus. When we do square roots with a variable, we usually have to worry about plus or minus, but does it make sense that the hypotenuse would be minus 50? No. So you only have to worry about the positive root. Number two, we're trying to find A. So A is here. That means it's going to be C squared minus B squared. And when we do the math in the calculator, we can always round to the nearest hundredth. So if I rounded correctly, that's what we should have. Plus, A is going to be shorter than C. It might be longer or shorter than B, we don't know. But for C, definitely shorter because C is always the longest side. Very important when we get to the next lesson. All right, so here we have A, B, and we want to find C. So it's C equals A squared plus B squared. We get 1250. The square root is 3536. C has to be the longest side. We're looking for C, just like on number 3. So A squared plus B squared. And then the square root on the calculator, 16.12. Number 5, I'm looking for C again. Now, A squared, and when I do B squared, when I do the square root of 15 squared, it's just going to give me 15. Because the square root of 15 times the square root of 15 is 15. Then I get 31, and C. And then number 6, A looking for B. So that means it's going to be C squared minus A squared. When we square this, we get 89. Minus 25, 64, square root of 64 is 8. So your assignment is page 31, odds. Okay, and they'll look a lot like these. When you go to day 2, I don't have any notes for it, but you're going to do page 32 all. And when you do those, you're going to have problems that come from a diagram. And you have to remember, what is A, B, and C? A and B are the legs, they're interchangeable, and C is the hypotenuse. It's always the longest side, it's always opposite the right angle. Okay? And then day 3, page 33 all, it's going to be just like day 2 all. It's going to be a mix of problems like you see on this paper and problem with pictures. All right, so those are the next 3 days. Good luck.